right, everybody, welcome back to the SOS Podcast, Lyndsay, Chey, and Brittany. And this week we are talking about why neurodivergent people tend to feel more connected to the spiritual or the energy realm than they do the physical one. The question I have I have to pose to myself sometimes is, are you a witch or are you just autistic? So on that, let's talk about some of the top reasons why people tend to feel this way. And I think Shay's big one is pattern recognition and intuition. So let's start there.
Yeah. So, um, I have asked myself like several times in my life, am I psychic? Because I will have these connections with people and be able to basically, like I wrote down a couple examples. So last summer I was on a boat and there was this new girl there. One of our guy friends brought her, and I just went up to her and I was like, are you like stressed out because you're not like doing work stuff right now? And do you have a hard time like not thinking about work and not being productive and like letting yourself like have fun? And she was like, yeah, I can't stop thinking about work and I'm anxious and I feel like I should be doing something. And I was like super type A, very logical person. And she was like, yeah. And we just like dove into some more stuff. And I was like, helped her like relax for the day so we could just have fun. And she was just like so mind blown by that. And then, last weekend I was, out and I just kind of sat and was talking to this couple. They were traveling through Austin, and the girl, I just kind of was asking her about like her traumatic background and upbringing, and she was like, how do you know that? And I'm like, I don't know. And then I like looked at the man in the situation, and I was like, do you really like thrifting and like this kind of stuff? And he was like, yeah, I do. So then I was telling them good places to thrift around Austin, things like that. Stuff like that happens to me all the time. And what I've come to realize is that because of my ADHD, I have such intense pattern recognition. So I feel like for me, type A logical people who feel stressed being unproductive, they all look very similar. I feel like people who went through really traumatic backgrounds or like had to kind of make it on their own and kind of look similar and act similar and present themselves similarly. And it's so easy for me to tell and to kind of be able to like regurgitate your past just by the way that you carry yourself, you know? Do you guys feel like
Oh,
you
yeah.
do
Oh,
the same thing?
1000%.
Yeah. Steve kind of tells me sometimes that especially if I get like a bad intuition about something, which does not happen a lot. It really doesn't. But once in a while, I'm like, I don't like that person. Like almost immediately, he's like, "What are you talking about?" And like he has a really good intuition and a very good like read on people as well, but not from just looking at them. And it's like we always hear the phrase "Don't judge a book by its cover," which I think has its implications in like don't underestimate people, and always be kind because you never know. Like there's certain reasons why I think that is correct, but you absolutely can judge a book by its cover.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Oh, yeah.
and I feel like because of the pattern recognition, you've seen so many books. Like we're all different, like individual special snowflakes in some ways, but we're also really not.
Yeah, that's actually so true.
Yeah.
I feel like every person gets put into, or like you can categorize people, you know?
And
And you
and
kind
and a
of,
lot of the most interesting people, they span multiple categories, but you
yeah.
still like everything has its place, you know? And everything has to have its place because it's the only way that the order of the universe can combat the chaos of the universe. So everything does have its place. You have to be able to put that chaos in order, But you can pick up on that a lot more simply. And I feel like also, but having the confidence to know that you're correct. Because I feel like, Shay, can you talk about like, not just like having where you're like, oh, I think that this is the case, but like what makes you so sure that you're like confident enough to say it to that person's face and be like, and like literally call outs on it.
And
Instead of what I think a lot of people do, which is like they go against their intuition, whether it's in that respect or another, because they feel like they don't trust themselves and because they've been gaslit about their instinct and intuition.
well, I think a couple things. Number one, I just know. I just know. I just know. I just know. I haven't been wrong. I've walked up to random people and been like, "Hey, I just have never been wrong about it," but I think when it comes to I think pattern recognition also comes up in the way that I have trusted myself. I remember I can recognize patterns of when I don't trust my intuition, and 100% of the time I end up in a mess of some sort. And so I think when you lean in and listen to your intuition, I think the more loud it becomes, the more intense it feels. And if I were to it's kind of, I always think of my intuition like another little person. And if I were to be in an amazing, healthy rel relationship with this other person, and this person always felt heard by me, seen by me, trusted by me, listened by me, they're going to come and they're going to talk to me about any and everything. Now, if this same little person, I'm like, "You're wrong. Leave me alone. Be quiet. Please stop. I don't want to hang out with you." Why would they come and tell me things? Why would they open up to me? And I very much lean into my intuition as if it's another person. And I have to like take care of her and know that I trust her and listen to her so that she'll give me more signs and more clearly and loudly. Um, and I also think too, like, beyond just being able to have predictions about people, it's also like pattern recognition, I think, comes up for us in events and circumstances too. Kind of like when I'm like, let's say I'm like depressed or things are kind of going south, I can be like, "Okay, I've been here before. Here's probably what's going to happen next. I can either do this, this, and this, and it's going to get worse, or I can do this, this, and this, and we can cut the time that I feel this way in half, whatever." And you can use your pattern recognition to calming the anxiety of the unknown. Like you can be like, "Okay, I've been here before. I pretty much know what's going to happen here. Let's lean into it."
So I use my pattern recognition in an additional third way to that. I use it for social safety. So I have, and this is it. It's a weird thing to think about considering how often I am public and on screen and recorded and all the things, but I have debilitating social anxiety often. And so I will use
It's true
pattern
if you've ever been
recognition.
in the car with Lindsay getting out to go to an event.
Yeah, it's bad. And so I will actually use my pattern recognition in my first few interactions to gauge honestly how I need to be masking for this set of people, this type of event, this etc. So I think I use my pattern recognition to keep myself emotionally safe. I think I use it as like a almost like a shield nearly, and I think that does come up in people because just like you guys, I also have I will have the initial like, "Ooh, this is not a good person."
Mm-hmm.
I just unfortunately also have the belief that there's good in everybody, and I've been proven wrong many times. And so that brings me to the thing that my guiding light when it comes to my pattern recognition and leaning into my intuition. I have had to learn this is that it has to be metrics over emotion.
Mm.
So when I'm leaning into my pattern recognition, I have to think to myself, not could this person get on a path to be a better person? Um, you know, there are multiple ways that could go, but for me, it comes down to my intuition is based on my pattern recognition, but my pattern recognition has to be based in the percentage that I am right or wrong. And when I really think about it that way, it is rare that I'm wrong.
Mm.
And so when I start to think about the data behind it, like when I doubt myself. I think that's the most important thing, because I doubt myself and my intuition fairly often because I've been tricked so many times.
Yeah.
Because I do find myself to be naive to when people have unmatching words to actions is very hard for me, because I take things as when people are telling me something, that is the thing, and that is the truth and the thing, and it's so hard for me to see the differentiation between their actions and their words. And I've
Do you
had to
feel
like
like you
really
see it, hear it, or feel it when you're picking up on like bullshit?
I feel it, and it's like a deep, deep, deep feeling. Like, I went through 65 pages of a court document the other day, and there was one thing that like didn't seem quite right. And sure enough, I went and did some research, and it wasn't right. So it's like there will be things that I see and things that I hear, but there's something in me that is like, this doesn't add up. And there's like doesn't compute, like almost like a computer system is running in here, and it's like all of this data, nope, that thing does not work there. And I
Mm-hmm.
pick it out almost immediately. And I've had to really retrain myself to like lean into that, because it is so incredibly rare that I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's like one of these things is not like the other. We talked about this, I
Yes.
think, on one of our first episodes. We talked about Blink by Malcolm Gladwell and the story of the fake, what turned out to be the fake statue. You guys remember that?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
whenever it was, years ago, maybe. No idea.
But yeah, I think that it can be almost painful too, when you know that something's not right and not adding up, and you can't figure out why. Especially when there's another human involved and you're like being gaslit, because I fall for being gaslit, unfortunately. I have a hard time with it. I really do. Um, so it can be almost painful. Like, it'll sit with me. It won't leave my brain alone if I know something's not adding up. To the point where I almost always end up having to take action. And then I'm like, I knew it. I should have just, leaned in from the beginning.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've learned that lesson the hard way a few times, unfortunately. And I don't know how to I haven't learned yet how to build better defenses on the front half. So I'm learning how to course correct and lean more into the data on the back half now, when those types of situations come up. And my investigative skills are unparalleled.
And yeah, me too.
The deep dive is real on this one. Let me tell you. Like, have you been down a rabbit hole lately as I'm riding the rabbit into the abyss? Absolutely. What do you mean? So yes, pattern recognition. That is a big one. And it does, I mean, I've even gotten to where like, how did I know that?
Do you guys
You
get a lot
know,
of deja vu?
all the time.
Did you?
All the time.
Like how many times a week would you say you get deja vu?
So mine's weird. My deja vu is weird because I don't normally remember it as it's happening. Because normal deja vu, you're like, oh, I've seen this before. I've been here before. I will have a dream about it the night before.
I
Remember
have
the dream
both.
all throughout the day, and then it happens. And
Yeah,
those ones like really weird me out.
super weird. Do you ever
Yeah.
think about, okay, I'm just gonna veer off the course for like a second. Have you guys heard about the multiverse theory?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so like basically the idea that like infinite timelines across infinite universes with infinite possibilities like are
And
occurring
CERN imploded ours a few
simultaneously.
years ago, and now we're on a different plane.
Maybe, but essentially that they're all occurring simultaneously. I do you
Mhm.
ever wonder like if like the dream or deja vu or like whatever is like a bridging of the gap between like the timeline that you're on in this current physical reality and like the timeline that one of your other selves is on in an alternate dimension or reality?
So I may have found some scientific backing to that
Go
I was
on.
planning on talking about today. So, not I'm not saying that I believe that this happens, just for everybody out there. But there is some data that makes me question if it is possible to connect from one brain space to another brain space in the energetic realm. And here's the reason I think that.
When you say one brain space to another, is it like your brain space here and then your brain space there, or is it a like a cosmic brain space, like the collective brain space that you're talking about?
I think probably the way that I imagine it, it would be energetic energy signature to energy signature. Because
Okay.
we all have our own energy signatures that are incredibly unique to each human.
Yeah. They're
So
like fingerprints for your vibe.
even more so, like, yeah. Um, yes. So the reason that I think that there's some scientific backing to this is because neurodivergence, and I'm going to read some of the data so that I don't misquote anything. But neurodivergent, specifically people with ADHD and autism, have show much higher levels of theta wave activity in EEG studies. And so like theta waves are associated with dreamlike, introspective, and meditative states.
Mm.
And so with that, we are able to process sensory situations differently, and on a higher, we're able to gauge more information than just the physical. We're actually able to gauge the meta, which is interesting. Um, some very high level autistics can actually feel different energy waves from plants and animals,
Mm-hmm.
sight unseen. So
Mm-hmm.
we actually do have the ability to sense other energy signatures than our own, without the normal five senses. We also we operate with a different sense of what is called the default mode network, which is what it basically limits the internal dialogue of a neurotypical person. So ours is much less limited. So we're actually able to our metaphysical space inside of our brains is much larger to be able to create and imagine infrastructures that the neurotypical brain cannot, like the cosmos and unorthodox, far out religions, etc. Because we're able
Mm.
to actually brainscape more internally and see and understand more on a singular scope than a neurotypical person can, because their default mode network limits them.
And our default mode network is big picture
Unhinged.
connectivity. Huh? Unhinged?
Unhinged.
Yeah.
Yes. But in that, with the theta brainwaves specifically, it is said that with ADHD specifically, there's an elevated theta wave activity, particularly in the frontal cortex. Um, and it creates what is called the theta beta ratio. And the high ratio is often used actually as a diagnostic for ADHD. So this is something that like they use to prove your diagnosis.
Interesting.
Um, yeah. And so this suggests that neurodivergent people may spontaneously access altered or spiritual receptive states without needing to work to get there. And it is highly likely that we do it in our sleep, which is why I think I am able to have almost deja vu dreams and remember them throughout the course of the next day. And sometimes I'll have the dreams and be able to remember them for a long time. And then the event happens, and I'm like, I remember this dream. It's a weird thing. Like, yeah, it almost like it brings it into the physical realm for me.
Which one's the
Um,
dream, I wonder?
yeah, which one is the dream? Right. And so
I
there's this little
actually,
boy.
oh no, you go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say
So
like literally about that.
no, there's this little boy, who is a bona fide like super genius, this kid. I believe high functioning autistic, who is actually mapped how we could have potentially, when CERN fired up their project, we could have potentially actually imploded our own timeline and have submerged timelines, which is why all of the Nelson Mandela effects have happened.
Oh, like this was in the group text, right? The cornucopia, the Fruit of the Loom cornucopia. I sent that to all you guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh. That's so
Yeah.
crazy.
So, and there's some speculation now that the people that are first picking up on these differences between the timeline the majority of us remember and the ones that don't are also neurodivergents.
Mm.
Yeah. So, because we're able to hold on to the visuals longer, which is interesting. So,
Wow.
yeah, theta brainwaves. There's actually some scientific backing to why we do feel more connected to the cosmos or the energetic realm or the spiritual, whichever way you lie. There is actually some science behind it. So anybody out there wanting to do a little more research, go look up theta brainwaves and what it means for the neurodivergent brain.
The beta ones,
Um,
those are like the logic, like
Theta's
reasoning.
meditative,
Yeah,
dreamlike
theta,
state.
but beta is your
Oh,
uh like
operational.
yes,
Yeah.
tangible.
Mhm. Yeah. So
That's
that's something.
interesting that it can be used as like an actual diagnostic measure.
Mhm.
I'm sure nobody ever uses it though, unless you're like in the
I that
like if you're like a clinical study, maybe.
that may have been one of the things that they were monitoring when I did my EQ for whatever the test at the office.
I was
Because
wondering.
they had a monitor here and they were watching my eyeballs and from the screen, and I was like doing puzzles and stuff. So I'm
Oh,
pretty sure
maybe,
they actually monitor that or
maybe.
look at it or are able to probably. I mean, it has to be if it's one of the listed diagnostic tools, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. So some of the other reasons, and this is probably a big one for me, is spiritually speaking, I don't really fit into a lot of the religions that I've learned about. I had a little bit of a different upbringing. Um, so I understand more than just one religion. Let's put it that way. Um, but I think I have created entirely my own spiritual realm and connection to the universe, um, because I don't fit into the feeling of the social norms. And I think that that's probably, or I was gonna say, I think that's probably fairly common, but I also don't, a lot of them, like listening to the stories and things, a lot of it doesn't add up for me. So I've got a pattern recognition thing for a lot of common day religions that like doesn't like ring true. But then I've also got maybe a little adverse to authority. Uh, but I've also got the like, I don't want to have to go to a specific building on a specific day and dress a certain way and touch my neighbors. And there's just there's
What?
so many different churches that make you like hug your neighbors or
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
shake your neighbor's hand or get in line and everybody
I think
drink
that's
and eat
more
this
like a
thing. Like
cult, Lindsay.
I'm
They start
talking
making
about
you
the most
touch
common
people.
religions out there, ma'am.
It's true.
Most non-denominational Christian churches have a greet your neighbor moment when they kick off their ceremonies for the day. Like,
I've never been to a
and
non-denominational church,
yeah,
I don't think.
yeah, yeah. Most of them have yeah, a
Oh,
touch your neighbor, and it weirds me out. But I feel the same way about a lot of the like Tony Robbins environments too, where I like, are we all sheep? Like, I have a I have a weird feeling. Uh, so,
yep.
I've created my own practices and, I have my conversations with my spiritual leadership daily. And I feel much more authentically connected to the universe now than I ever have, trying to fit into a box somewhere else. So, yeah, but that's just me. I know we all each have our own stuff. I know Morgan's not on here, but she meditates a lot. So I'll throw that in the bucket for her. She's a big meditator.
It's gonna be
I
hard.
want to be a big meditator.
Dude. It's not like when I'm really practicing, I can get there, but with ADHD, man,
It's
shut the
hard.
brain is a son of a bitch, man.
It's so hard.
I will be trying to be present but I'll just let my thoughts do their thing. And then I'll really listen to them while I'm trying to meditate. I'm like, how the fuck did you get here? Like, what are we thinking about? No, we're supposed to be chilling right now.
You're supposed to, I don't know, you're supposed to like follow the thought, but I feel like I follow the thoughts and then I try to rein myself back in. And I guess it's probably not even like meditation that I've been doing. It's just like really more just like breath work. I don't know what the difference is.
Your
I don't
breath
know
work
anything.
can get you to a place of ascendance. It's
Well,
build. Breath
I
work is awesome.
dude, I don't know how to like be still, I guess. I guess like I have to remind myself to just like count, like do the breath count, and that's kind of how I can like stay with the breath the most is just to like focus on like where it's going in my body and then how
Mhm.
to like and just like counting out like, 4 in, 8 out, for like
Mhm.
whatever I'm doing. But then I forget to count and then I'm like, "Oh, we got to count?" It's hard. It's so hard, dude. I feel like we talk about discipline a lot, and like reining in your like ADHD symptoms or whatever. Like we talk about this a lot where it's like, hey, if you want to be successful and you're neurodivergent, it's just going to be harder for you. And a lot of this is just like being disciplined enough to do the things that help you be your best self. And like that mental discipline of that is so much harder than like like whatever physical discipline, like the discipline of like reining your thoughts in and staying in like a present moment or like yeah, it's taken a lot of work to I used to like get a lot of panic attacks, which like I don't anymore, and gratitude helps, when you're like trying to rein yourself back in. But
Mhm.
yeah, when it's just you and your many selves, they say the darndest
So
things sometimes.
I stopped trying to meditate. I kind of came to the conclusion that some brains aren't meant to have slow, quiet conversations with their God. I am wired the way that I'm wired. So I now, when I'm trying to connect to the spiritual, I will make it a conversation. I'll make it about gratitude. Um, but I think I've gotten to a point where I know it's probably really healthy to slow your brain down and get into that like meditative sleep state and like rest and pause, but I don't feel like that's really authentic for me,
I completely
you
agree.
know?
I pressured myself for years to meditate because it was the right thing to do and everybody was doing it and there was all these benefits and blah 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 blah. But then it became this task that I just resented kind of. And now I totally practice my spirituality differently. And I went on a run yesterday for the first time in a long time, and I found myself in a meditative state, just listening to chill music. I was allowed to think and come to some conclusions and things like that. And when you're running or you're exercising, your my mind doesn't really go all crazy because I'm focused at the task at hand, that it allows me to be more present with my mind when I'm doing active things.
Yeah. When I don't even want to say when I do breath work because I literally just started trying a couple weeks ago and it's very hard. So when I attempt, I don't even see it as a spiritual practice. I see it as like a central nervous system, like down regulation. Like I see it as a tool. Like it is not because I don't have to like I've gotten into a lot of very spiritual places that have just been like me in my mind and that's been without any sort of like intentional focus. You know what I mean? Like I feel the same way that I feel very connected to like God and the universe both because especially over the last few years, like, and you can call it manifesting, you can call it prayer, you can call it whatever you want, but like, I, I receive everything I ask for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's nothing that I've been denied. Like, usually it just like, I have to become the version of myself that's able to receive it. And basically, that just means like a lot of times I have to stop stopping myself from having the thing or being the thing or whatever. But I've gotten everything I've ever asked for the most part. That was like within my own control. You know what I mean? But I think that more so than even like breath work or like down regulation or anything like that. I feel like for me, a lot of the catalyst in like my faith and spirituality was loss and grief and like devastation. And it like, it sucks so bad, but if you know how to work it right, like that is the thing that's going to make you the most powerful,
Yeah.
I think, for me.
Amen, sis. Hell yeah. I love that.
Do you guys like
I'm gonna
do you guys do like the divine like the numbers and like the angel numbers? How do you feel about that?
I notice when I'm seeing them a lot.
Me too.
Like
That's
I
great.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just notice when I'm seeing them a lot. 222, it's always mine, always.
Mine too. What is that?
So it's supposed to mean that your spirit guide or someone who's passed away is trying to say, like, hey, I'm with you, I'm watching over you, I'm protecting you. And it's supposed to be like a signal. And so I'll go through spurts like for weeks, in weeks and weeks. I see 222 everywhere, everywhere. And as a
Too.
matter of fact,
Weird.
before I moved into this apartment, I lived 2 doors down and my apartment number was 218. And I was like, I went through a breakup and I was like, I need to get out of this apartment. I cannot afford this by myself. Da, 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 da. And so I went down to the leasing office and I swear she was such an angel. This person who used to work here was like, I told her the situation. She was like, let's get you out of there. And she was like, I have apartment 222 available and I'm going to waive all of the moving stuff. There's no deposit, nothing. Just on the 1st of next month, this will be your rental amount and just move your stuff over. And I was like, okay, that was meant to be, things like that.
I've had I don't have a specific one where I see like 111 or 222. Like I see all of them a lot.
Oh,
And like some
interesting.
days more than others. Like I'll have days where I see them in a row. Like I will literally like for whatever reason. Like and it won't just be one thing. It's usually the like the oven clock and
Mm-hmm.
I'll look and it'll be like 11:11 or and then 2:22 and then I'll like leave and come back and now it's like 3:33 or I'm driving and now it's 3:30 and I will have days where I like every hour almost on the hour I see like the successive numbers of that, which is like I don't know. I
Have
don't
you
know what
looked
to make
into
of
it?
that. Huh?
You haven't looked into
Have I
it.
Googled it?
Yeah, like have you looked into it?
Yeah, I mean I've looked into what it means, but like I don't know. Does it mean that? Like what are the odds? You know?
Yeah.
Or is it like
It's the universe trying to tell you you're right about time is not real.
yes, I was about to say something up to that extent. You know how I feel about time. There is no time,
Yeah.
only clocks.
There you go.
Yeah.
Whenever
Yeah.
I see 222, I'll like smile and be like, hi.
Hey. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I assume everything is my dad, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Mine is my grandma.
Yeah. I assume everything is my dad. Certain things I will know it's not my dad. Certain things I'll know that it's like my uncle or my grandpa. But like usually it's my dad. But that was also like my dad and I talked every day. Like he was my homie, you know, we were best friends. So I feel like there's every day that I'm just like, but usually if there's like, usually the fuckery is my uncle. Because that man was a clown. He was clowning people constantly, all the time. So if there's ever like some like cosmic fuckery and I'm just like, what the hell? Like almost like, you know, like some days you just feel like you're getting like a cosmic wedgie where you just feel like everything is just dumb. Like everything's falling out of your hands, your belt loop's getting stuck on the door
Stopped
handle.
at every red light.
Yeah, just yeah, like It's just a cosmic wedgie. Like those are the days that I'm like,
They ran out of my favorite donut when I was next in line.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, where it's like it's not like super serious. It's like material stuff, and it's not like something that has a huge impact, but it's just like that's usually when it's my uncle. And then whenever it's a very like logical, common sense problem I could have avoided, situation that like I could have gotten myself out of if I had like the right tools or thought about it right or like didn't put off a problem, that's my grandpa.
Mhm.
Mm. Yep.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
And mine's just my grandma.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's always the twos though.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's interesting.
Always the
Maybe
two.
it's a tr- trail marker.
Maybe. Yeah. Just a hey, how are you? I'm here.
Mhm.
I love it. So on another note, one of the topics we brought up during our prep call for this, and the more I think about common religion, the more I see this in myself. But are we more connected to the spiritual realm than the physical realm because we have such a widespread rejection of authority?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
we question a lot of things. Like there are parts like with like the what you were talking about gaslighting and things earlier. Like we kind of take some people just at face value. We're like, well, why would you lie or why would you do something with ill intent? That doesn't make sense because we wouldn't do that.
Mhm.
And
Right.
so we kind of take things at face value. But I think we still have this innate ability to question everything and be like, this isn't right. And I don't think that we are easily manipulated. I don't want to say that word too loosely, but like I just think it's like I feel like if it was organized religion or a cult or um any sort of like authoritative position, they fucking hate to see me coming. Because
Yeah.
I'm like,
Because we don't like being told how to live or what to believe.
yeah. So defiance is literally a symptom of ADHD, defiance and being
Yeah.
like, then like for me, like I remember being like young in my early 20s and I'd get to the club or whatever. I'd be like, people are like, oh, we have to stay in this line. And I'm like, stay in this line. We can stay in this line. I'm going to go into the front. I'm either going to wedge in between someone or I'm just going to walk in or I'm going to make up some bullshit about how I know the bartender. Like, I'm not waiting in this line. That's insane. And like, I've never thought that rules, like, I like, I'm talking laws, rules, things like that. I'm like, this is bullshit. As long as I'm not killing someone or hurting someone, I'm fine. It's not that big of a fucking deal. That is, I like sat up for this because I have felt so strongly about this. Like when people are like, I cannot break the rules. I'm like, for fucking what reason? Yes, if we can get there quicker, faster, more efficiently, and everything's gonna be all right and we're all gonna survive, we can break the rules a little bit. People who are like full-blown rule follower type A, it is extremely hard for me to like mesh well with those people.
Kind of sound like a libertarian right now, a little bit.
What is that? What do you mean?
Libertarians generally believe that the overall overlaying law should be you can do whatever you want as long as you are not harming or impeding on other people, and they can do whatever they want as long as they're not harming and impeding on other people. And I will make and take care of mine and do my stuff, and you will make and take care of and do your stuff. And it is my money is your money. Like
It's pretty
full
much how I feel.
separation of state to the individual sovereignty is a
That's
Yep.
libertarian.
I have always felt that way. Always.
Yeah.
That's why like I don't understand. That's another thing in like religion stuff that I'm just like, dude, what is the deal? If someone's gay or trans or this or that, I'm like, are they bothering you? Is them being gay affecting your life? No, it literally doesn't affect your life. What cracks me up about like the trans thing is it's always the people in like this a tiny town in Oklahoma. I'm like, when have you ever seen a trans person in the entirety of your life? It's
Would you
bumfuck
know it
nowhere.
if you did?
And would you know it if you did? And if God forbid you have to walk by them in the grocery store, did you die or are you all right? Oh, we made it to the checkout line and now we're
Also, like,
it's
I
not
think that one of the most important things about all of that is like, if that's someone's genuine, like, authentic, truest self, like, how can you believe in God and then think that like God doesn't make mistakes, right? So like why would you think that a person shouldn't be who they are or should change it or should hide it or whatever? Like, but at the same time think that God doesn't make mistakes. Like that's so contradicting, you know?
Can't be both.
Yeah.
You
Like,
yeah,
can't believe it's an infallible God, but not love all of his creatures.
right.
yeah. And
Yeah,
so
Doesn't
I
track.
think
exactly.
we just have a hard time just being like, okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. And when you're in any sort of like group where there's a leader, I won't just water this down to just religion, but I think that's another reason why a lot of us tend to be entrepreneurs. I I don't like being told what to do by anybody. Anybody, even my fiance. I will be like, you need to come again because you don't know what to do. And in this is in a respectful way, you know, but like it makes me see red, not with him, but like with like bosses, teachers, what
Well, it's also a respect thing to be asked to do something not told. And so what
yeah.
you're talking about actually is a little bit of a sense of social justice
Mm,
also,
yeah.
on top of like, you know, distaste for authority.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on the context. Like, I don't mind being told what to do if it's from a like
Trusted
necess-
source,
huh?
a trusted source.
Well, yeah, I'm not even getting that deep into it. It's really just like, is this a necessary task that needs completing and do you need
Sure.
me to complete it? You know, when it comes down to like, I think more than being told what to do, I don't like being told what to believe, and I don't like being told what how I should act within my own sovereignty. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I'm gonna agree with that 100%.
Like, yeah, so it's not like like what I mean when I was like an angsty teen, it may have been a little bit different because I felt the way that I felt, but I couldn't articulate it and I didn't have enough world experience and life experience in order to see why it was important. So now all those things that just made me like an impossible daughter to my parents, um, are just making me like a very logical, articulate, and intentional adult. But I had to go through that very messy phase of like, I don't know why I'm so contrary, but there's a reason and I don't know what it is, but like I feel like I shouldn't listen to this. I feel like I shouldn't like listen to you. Like in high school, like I also have always felt like rules don't apply to me unless they make sense. Like if you can't tell me why and then me like us be on the same page about it, aside from the fact that like because I said so, like I'm not gonna listen to you. Like
And
I don't
also
see why as a freshman
registering,
or sophomore I couldn't go off campus. Like what am I, 8, you
that's
know?
what I'm saying. Why the
Mhm.
fuck can't I go? Yes, I
Yeah,
can.
it's
It,
a belittling thing. It's like you have to earn the
Control.
privilege by being a good girl and it's like no, I don't.
yeah. And like
Like
like little stuff like my car is always registered. It's always up to date, but that shit pisses me off. I'm like, register my car that I paid for, that I insure, that I pay for the
That I paid
plates.
taxes on.
yeah. How
I
about
pay
it just stays registered until I unregister it?
Thank you. I'm like, this is so dumb. Ugh,
Like,
yeah.
especially me, like, I'm not the kind of person who needs a new car all the time. Like, I know, like, boys, they like, Steve has probably had 6 or 7 cars in his life. Like, I'm on my second. I'm on my
On my
third,
fourth.
if you count the one that I briefly had that got totaled, which is the only reason that I have this one now. Like, I would have had only 2 cars in my whole life, you know? But like, why do I have to keep telling you, like, yes, just checking in, just giving you $300 this year to make sure that I still have the same car and the same insurance? Like, instead of like, hey, I'll let you know if something changes. If I sell this car, I will unregister it and like let you know. No. But
Mhm.
that's why, because so much of like I feel like so many of society's rules and regulations and the whatever is just A, it's a money grab, or two, it's a power grab.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I spent $800 on mine.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Nevada goes off the MSRP.
Yeah. Nevada's crazy. I don't pay much out here. I've probably saved like $400 a year in
That's
Texas,
rough.
but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like being told what to believe.
Yeah.
I don't.
I don't either. I really struggle, and like, not to get into like politics or anything, but like with just some of the chat, the lingo, some of the stuff that I see, and it's like the government and religion should be, and I'm like, how are we going to get everybody on the same page of
They
following?
shouldn't. That was one of the founding fathers' biggest things was separation of church and state. Although it never happened because it was always like basically a
Christian.
Protestant Catholic, like it was like an unspoken thing. But it is literally in like the Constitution, the founding fathers is freedom of religion and that there will be separation between church and state. That's what makes it a democracy and not a monarchy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, but I do want to backtrack on what I
Let's
said
burn the witches.
ago. Yeah, it's like that. I don't like being told what to do. You're right. The way that you articulated it is much better. Like if someone's like, hey, can you grab me that? Like, of course. I'm like, not gonna be
Yeah.
an ass. Of course, I'll go grab that for you, no problem. But you're right. When it comes to be this version of a human, I don't. I
Mhm.
just
Well, and then you've got the people that additionally, like myself, in my religion, that I've had for a very long time, if I even say what it is out loud to people that conform to modern normal religions, I still get chastised to this day. Like there's another part of like feeling maybe it's not rejection of authority, but rejection of society for having different beliefs too, because we
Mhm.
see through what a lot of it is that's being put on the table.
Yeah.
So
what
there's
is
a
that
little bit of that also.
when you get chastised for that or judged? What is the emotion that comes up? Like what is that for you?
For me, honestly, it's like I almost feel bad for people for being so close-minded,
Mhm.
honestly. Like it's maybe a little bit of confusion. Like, do you even know what you're talking about? That's actually normally what happens in my head in those moments where I'm like, you don't even know what you're talking about. Half of your religion came from mine. Should we talk
Yeah.
about Christmas trees for a minute? You mean a Yule log? Sure. Sorry.
God,
Don't mind me.
maybe I am a libertarian. I need to look into this because you just saying that, like, for me, when someone is like they believe XYZ and they don't like fuck with what I believe in, I'm like, okay, well, go do
Well,
that over there and I'll do this.
libertarian's political. It's a political, like being a Democrat or a Republican, you're a libertarian.
Oh,
It's a
interesting.
political, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I think, um, I
Huh.
don't know what you would call a free form spiritualist.
What
What
do you
would that be
mean?
called? Agnostic, maybe? No.
No,
A
agnostic
religion.
is, well,
You
atheist is
believe in
a
something, but
strict
you don't know
belief
what it
in
is.
nothing, right?
Yeah.
Agnostic is like, don't know, don't
You
care.
believe, no, you believe there's something, but you don't know what it is.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think technically aren't we all agnostic? Because none of us know what it is.
I don't think we're capable of understanding what it is. I don't think we're able,
Yeah,
personally.
not on this timeline. I feel like,
Yeah. I don't think we have the computational ability to fully grasp why we're here and what it is. I really don't think we do. I think it's probably much bigger than any of us could even imagine.
yeah, and that's I think one of the things that I don't necessarily love about some features of organized religion is because I feel like it dumbs down the wonder. And I think it's a
Yeah.
sense of control as well, because it's like if you let people just spend so much of their time like wondering about like the existential reality that we all find ourselves in, you won't get them to be able to like commit to like menial tasks and like play nice together in the way that you want them to and like go all in one direction. Because like it blows my mind, and we talked about this, I think it was the last time, but the amount of things that we don't know so far exceed the things that we do know. And that is a much more interesting place for me to live mentally. Like, I'm in a constant state of wonder at everything. I want to know how everything works. I can't wait to like find out like certain intricacies. Like a lot of times, like at night, like I will pray to have like certain dreams that I get to experience maybe like a more complex realm, you know? And like a lot of times I'm granted that. Or a lot of times I'm given like a certain perspective here. And like, you know, I don't know.
Do you ever wonder if maybe you ask that question of the universe because you don't feel like it's as authentic here as you need it to be?
Yeah, 100%.
Because that's kind of where I end up sitting, is like I
Yeah.
can't really watch the news anymore. I can't, like, there's the more and more that I am exposed to in things that other people have created in this planet, the more I feel like we are moving in the wrong direction as a species.
The most connected that I feel and the most grounded that I feel or have felt is when I am getting to experience parts of this natural world that seem to have a lot more ties to what quote unquote true meaning is. So, for example, the 2 weeks that I spent in Egypt up until now are still the most like enlightened and connected and like real time of my life because, you know, I just felt a lot more connected to what like true, like what the point is, you know? And when I read about like ancient religions or like, you know, ancient civilizations and things like that, like pre the last cataclysm, like truly, truly ancient civilizations, where they really spent like all of their time erecting these, you know, insane megaliths and like dialing everything into the stars and like everything mattered and every calculation was taken into account and every way that like, you know, it just everything seemed like that felt to me like the most connected. And it seems like we're all kind of missing the boat now, you know, like the whole, like we're all just so focused on like menial tasks and
Survival.
like war, and we don't look up ever, you know? I feel like you get a lot more questions answered when you start looking up instead of ahead or down or in the mirror or anything, you know? If you want to know, you have to look up. And I
I had
think
something
that's,
that changed. Oh, sorry, Brett.
no, no, no,
I
go
had
ahead.
something. I'm wondering if you guys saw this because I had something that changed my brain chemistry the other day. Did you guys see where they discovered that ancient playground under the ocean off the coast of Hawaii?
Mm-mm. I have
It was
not been on like the intern webs this week, so I don't know what's going on.
so well, this was a couple weeks ago, but it's metal, highly intricate. There's videos of it. It's a team of researchers that found it off the coast of Hawaii. Um, it is dating back, I believe, to the Ice Age, I want to say. Um, but I was watching the video that they aired of like um the findings, and it was so intricate and made out of, yeah, it's right here. Old playground off the coast of Hawaii refers to an unusual underwater discovery made 200 miles from the coast. Marine archaeologists found what they believe to be a prehistoric playground dating back 10,000 years. It's submerged 3,000 feet deep. The site features stone structures resembling slides, climbing rings, and platforms, suggesting a deliberate layout for play.
Can I
And it is
see?
one of the most intricate
I was trying to
things
pull
I've
up a
ever
picture,
seen.
but
There's a video of it.
And
I'm going to
did
send it
are
to
you
you. It was about a week ago. A team from the Oceanic Exploration Institute So I'm gonna send you guys this, and I'll post the link under this episode too, so you guys can check it out. But watching that video of them panning the camera across it, I realized, like, I immediately felt like we have no idea what we are or how we got here. And I immediately felt it. It was one of those moments where, like, I felt it in my intuition center, like deep in my core. And it was one of the things that I made note of that I wanted to end up talking about at some point. But if that's the case, and that does actually, date back to that time period, it completely disrupts every major organized religion.
Okay, so I'm trying to look into it. It may be there's no like expedition or research team that has been quoted in saying that they have discovered this. So it
I'm
may
going to
have
send you the
been,
video right now.
yeah, let me see the video because it's
I want
not
to see.
clear whether or not that's, but do you know about Göbekli Tepe?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so when they were like, because there's been a lot of debate recently, and recently I say in
Mhm.
probably the past decade or so, about the timeline of like a lot of the ancient Egyptian world. So the Great Pyramid and specifically the Sphinx, because in the 90s, there was he was basically like an archaeojournalist, but his name was John Anthony West. And he read the works of this man, Ari Schweller de Lubitsch, that has studied like ancient civilizations before him. And he made this little comment about how the erosion around the Sphinx Valley Temple was caused by torrential downpour. And that little like snippet sent John Anthony West kind of on his life's work, which was trying to determine like the real age of a lot of the sites in ancient Egypt. And
Mhm.
eventually he got and obviously mainstream archaeology was having none of it. So eventually he got a guy by the name of Dr. Robert Schoch, who is a geologist at Boston University, or was, I'm not sure. But he was like, once he was tenured, and once he didn't like wasn't afraid of losing his job, he agreed
Mhm.
to go to Egypt with John Anthony West so that he could study the erosion patterns around the Sphinx temple enclosure. He concluded that those erosion patterns had to have been caused by torrential downpour. The only problem is that the current dating or the mainstream dating of the Giza Plateau and the Sphinx Valley Temple are around, what is it, like 3,500, 5,000 or whatever BC, right? The issue is there was not torrential downpour in the Nile Valley like since probably 9,800 years ago. So it was like 11,000 something BC. Okay. That was at the end of the
Mhm.
Younger Dryas, which was like the last big cataclysmic impact to the earth and essentially reset the human timeline. So the argument in non-mainstream archaeology is essentially that the Sphinx and the ancient Egyptian culture are much, much, much older than what we see in mainstream archaeology. And that because of this cataclysmic event that occurred, all of this like ancient wisdom and all that stuff was lost. And so essentially for years, there was like no other corroborating evidence. Fast forward, there was a site that has been unearthed in Turkey called Göbekli Tepe, and they have only discovered about 10% of it, and it is
Mhm.
massive, and it was deliberately buried in order to be preserved. And it is even more complex in some ways than a lot of the structures in ancient Egypt. But until Göbekli Tepe was found, there was no other corroborating evidence around the world for a megalithic structure or site that could date back over 10,000 years. So now with Göbekli Tepe, there is, but now they're essentially reconsidering the dating for a lot of these other like structures and in like Peru and especially Mexico. Oh man, there's so much old stuff in Mexico. So anyway, all of that to say that there are a lot of now there is a growing population of like cosmetologists and scientists and climatologists and like all these various and archaeologists, all these various sciences that are now looking for evidence and being open to evidence that civilization itself and advanced civilization itself is much, much older. And that this version, our version, our timeline, our BC and BCE is a restart of civilization. And that there was like certain humans that survived that cataclysm. The same way that now, if something happened, there's still uncontacted tribes like in Africa and Papua New Guinea and all these places, like subsistence lifestyles, chances of them surviving like a cataclysmic event or nuclear event, a like a substantial
Substantially higher.
weather event. Yeah. So it would be the same thing where like maybe they would eventually get to where we are now, but maybe not. Or maybe they would surpass us, or maybe not. So
And then you have to wonder how many times could you start over?
yeah. And how many times have we started over already?
But it's just, if that's the case, then the Bible's not real.
Well, the Bible could be real for this timeline,
That's fair.
you know?
Yeah.
Like, because I feel like
Well,
that's
I mean,
also
it would
passed down knowledge.
disprove the Adam and Eve theory, is all I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I think all of those are like stories, myths, and metaphors that are an attempt to portray the nature of reality and the nature of life, not the actual story.
The logical brain would understand that. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people that follow a lot of those religions believe that to be biologically true.
I mean, I don't know. Who knows? It could be. We
Maybe.
used to be snails.
I was gonna say I'm a science girly, but
Me too.
We used to be snails. How did we get here?
yeah. How did I go from a snail to now I have to register my car?
Yeah. Every year. I have the same
did that
car. Stop. Oh,
It's
we
a
talked
little
about
cheaper
this a
every
while
year.
ago about like the queues in airport lines where I'm like,
Waiting lines, dude. I
yeah,
cannot.
or like, do you
Cannot.
remember like back in the COVID days, the stickers in the grocery store, the 6 feet?
Stand here.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
Some places in Nevada never took them off.
Oh
Social
yeah.
distance.
Why bother? Unless you have like a gallon of Goo Gone, how are you gonna get it off anyway?
Gugan made a
It's just
fortune.
part of the
Who's
floor
invested in
now.
their stocks? Uh,
Sorry,
what
I
else
went
do
on
we
a
have
history
today?
tangent. I don't
No,
know how
all
we got
good.
here.
Because I'm really interested in what you both were just talking about.
Well, I have some books.
I'm not gonna sit down and read a book.
You could listen
I'll
to
send you
it.
some videos. Anyways, that video I saw, and I'll do some more research because maybe it wasn't real, but the footage looked pretty real.
My
And I'm
point
pretty
was, the reason I
pretty
said
good
that
at
was
picking
because
out
even
AI.
if that video is fake, like there are still rifts in the timeline. Like there's other evidence that shows that human civilization has been like the same thing with there's a guy named Randall
Predates the Ice
Carlson.
Age.
Huh?
We predate the Ice Age.
Yeah. Yeah. And the what's it called? Atlantis. Probably a real place.
I was actually wondering if I saw it when I saw that playground. I was like, wait a minute.
There's actually a couple people, there's like two locations are like the most discussed and the most like probable amongst people who do this research for Atlantis. One is like in the Azores Plateau, and then one is like some I forget what it's called, but it's somewhere in near Africa. I don't remember, but Randall Carlson is like one of my favorite like science. He's a geologist, but he's also a Freemason and like a builder by trade. He's just like one of the most fascinating. And he's from Minnesota, so he just like has the cutest like Midwest old man like vibe and accent. Just man, if I could shrink him and put him in my pocket, I'd love to carry him around.
That's adorable. Oh my goodness.
That sounded
We
weird
have to
out
tag him in
loud.
this so we can see. It's the last we did have one other thing we were going to talk about today. It was spiritual unmasking. My theory on this is very simple. I think a lot of us neurodivergents create our own spiritual what's the word I'm looking for? create our own spiritual environments, because it's one of the only conversations or places where we are ever fully unmasked. At least for me, I find that to be true. My conversations with the universe are my most unhinged Lyndsay, probably, honestly.
Yeah. Raw.
It's real raw sometimes. Yep. Real raw. So I think maybe that's to end on I think a final reason why I think a lot of us tend to move that way. It's because it's where we can fully be ourselves.
Oh yeah. I feel fully authentic and not there's just like judgment doesn't exist there.
There's no conversation I ever have with anybody in the physical realm where I'm not fearful of judgment.
Yeah.
Or how I'm being perceived. And I mean every conversation. It doesn't matter how close I am to you. I'm even conversations with my own children. I'm consistently worried about how I'm being perceived by them, long-term effects from literally every word, and all of it is exhausting. I think my conversations with the universe are probably the only ones that truly do not tax me in any way.
Yeah. I feel that. I feel that very much. I just posted a TikTok the other day asking for an opinion, and I was like, the way that I'm perceived in the video, I said, the way that I'm perceived by the public, by my family, by my friends, it's very important to me. But there I also feel like even with the people who I am closest to, I speak to or am I around every day, they don't know every detail of my life like I do. They don't live in me like I do. So the access is still limited to how well you can know someone, no matter how much you're around them. I feel like the universe lives in and around us from the moment that we come, but probably before Earthside, right? And so there is no hiding there in the spiritual realm. It's like you might as well be naked because they've seen it all and they've been there with you from day one. So like there is no hiding there. You know?
Yep. Yep.
I also
Sure
don't feel
do.
a need to.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all. Can't lie to yourself.
Because
Be like, you made this.
Yeah.
This is your doing. So you have to sit with me in it. I'm sorry. That's honestly the majority. I think that is the vibe of the majority of my conversations with the universe is what is going on right now? Why am I like this? I don't want to hear it back from you because you made me this way. So you have to hear about it. I do a lot of ranting and raving, I think, in my conversations with the universe, and not necessarily on negative stuff. I think it's just a lot of that is my space for output, for non-judged high octane output, and the way that my brain prefers to actually dump stuff, anywhere else it's too much and it can be overbearing, so save it for the cosmos.
Yeah. I feel like most of my conversations lately with the universe have been like, I'm trying to make it more specific. And so if it's not gratitude or like basically praying for others, and like I use the words God and universe interchangeably because I think that they're one and the same. Like when I genuinely believe in God, I have a lot of faith. And I used to not, but it's something that I like know to be true. But what I will never claim to know to be true is the form that God takes. And I think that it is inextricable from what like the universe and the reality of, you know, um, our being and our consciousness is. I think that we are linked and it's one and the same, and that we are God's children because we are offshoots of that supreme consciousness. Like we are made in God's image because we are the same thing. Like when you, isn't it, have you ever looked at like the structure or like a picture of like the nebulas or whatever in space? and then it like zooms out, and it's the same as the structure of like your neurons and your synapses and like your circulatory system. The way that that looks is the same as this, and it's also the same as like, the fungal networks that like allow the trees to communicate. Like we are all the same thing. We are God's children. We are offshoots of like the same universe, the same consciousness. Like if you're like, I'm bringing it back to meditating, but for me, I feel like most connected in like nature when I have like time to myself and like stillness in nature or just experience. I can feel like my breath being connected to the breath of like the outside that I'm in. And like, even on a more macro level, like the breathing of the universe, which actually they have developed tools to like hear stuff in space, which is crazy. They're like in like they're out of human audible sound for the most part, but they're like microwave. There's like, I don't know, it's really cool, but like everything is alive. So I think everything is connected. I think it's pretty neat.
String theory.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's so crazy because you hear people talk about string theory and then you hear people talk about multiverse theory, and it's like I feel
Same
like,
thing.
Same shit.
yeah, very, very similar, but they fight all the time. Like a lot of string theorists are like, don't believe in they're like, that's nonsense. I don't know.
But what if the strings are throughout multiple universes?
Yeah,
You
why
believe
not?
in the
Why can't they
string, you
be?
believe in the string.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Interstellar actually did a really great job of giving a visual depiction of that at the end of the movie.
You know what? I don't think I've ever seen Interstellar.
You'd love it.
I know, I probably would. I feel like I haven't watched any. There's like a lot of really good movies that I haven't watched.
I'm not a movie gal either, but I do love that movie. I it a few times.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, y'all. We are running up on time. Brittany's killing bugs. What are you doing over there?
Mosquitoes.
Texas and cows.
Bruh. The bugs are out. Oh, I'm gonna have you background next time we record. I'm moving this weekend. Tomorrow.
Yay!
Yay!
I'm excited.
Exciting. Are you packed?
Yeah.
You don't look packed at all. Your house looks the same as your house all the time. Are you packed?
She hired somebody. She had a team. A team.
Oh, good job.
Dude, you know what? Subtle plug. First ad break. 2 men in a truck will come into your house. All you have to do is clean. Just be respectful, clean up your house, do your dishes and shit. And they will come into your house with boxes and they will pack all of your stuff and move it to the new location for about $1,200. And it is
Wow. That's a
so
sick deal.
sick deal. It's so worth it. And that includes the boxes and everything.
That's
Yeah.
I'm never
I'm gonna go
packing
play with
again.
my baby niece all day. And when y'all call me, I can head over when my stuff arrives. It's great.
It'd probably be twice or 3 times that much for a house my size, 4 times that much.
How big is your house?
3,200 square feet,
Yeah.
4 bedrooms.
It's hourly. So if you packed up like a room or two by yourself, that would cut down on the
There you
price.
go. I'd probably have to anyways. My kids got a lot of
Yeah. Because you're a good mom.
All right, y'all. So 2 men in a truck. Here we go. Our first ad space.
Yeah. No, our first ad space is Ghost and Monster. If you guys don't sponsor Lindsay and I, what are you even doing? Or Bang.
At
And the
this
reason that it
point,
has to be, well, for me, because I am very, very sensitive to various forms of B12, because of my genetic methylation, whatever. And so I can only drink energy drinks. I try to only drink energy drinks that have the methylcobalamin form of B12 and not the cyanocobalamin form. Not that I don't love Monsters because they are delicious and they have some amazing like newer flavors that I love, but this is a new Ghost flavor that is new to me at least. I don't know how new it is, but
What is it?
do you know why I like these?
it's straw bango.
I like these because
Bingo,
they are
bango, bongo, baby.
straw bango.
It's
This is
really
a
good.
ruby red ultra fantasy. I like Monsters. Yes, their flavors are great. But also it's a weird textural thing for me. Their carbonation is different.
Mm.
They're
don't
like
know.
I
they
can see
feel
that.
more highly carbonated than the rest of the energy drinks.
Yeah, you know what? I
Which
feel like different flavors even throughout the same brand have like varying levels of carbonation. Some are so like less carbonated, more syrupy, and it's almost like more of like a Kool-Aid, like a, I don't know, I can't do that either. There's certain flavors of stuff that I just can't do.
Like super carbonated. My favorite ghost is the sour, what are those little Sour Patch Kid flavors?
Oh, I hate that one.
That one.
Oh, I hate that one.
funny.
I don't know what my favorite one is. I like the phase pot, the like red, white, and blue one I like. But then there's also like a phase up, I think, that just tastes like a Sprite.
Mm.
That one's really
Okay.
hard to find though. Um,
Y'all leave your favorite monster and ghost flavors in the comments. We gotta
yeah,
know.
Like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you next week. Holla.
Yes.
we love you all.
On that, we've got some episodes coming up in the pipeline for those of you that are watching. And we could use some input on them. We're gonna be talking about sleep, definitely, probably the next one. But also I want to do an episode on parenting.
Yeah.
So, and we probably need a little help on that because I'm the only mom in the group. So
I'm a dog mom.
there you go. Dog mom. Um, we'll see y'all next week. Like, share, subscribe, all the things. Love y'all.
Love you guys.
Bye, cheers.